My dad said I should cover the family's vacation because I'm single with no real responsibilities. I quietly froze my card. By morning, their ski trip was canceled. And that was just my first move. I knew it was a mistake the second I turned off the highway and saw the faded Cresswell Family Ranch sign half-swinging in the wind. Snow still clung to the edge of the roof like a bad memory, and the chimney smoked just enough to give the illusion of warmth. But I'd made the trip, 9 hours from Denver through icy roads and my own bitter reluctance, so there was no backing out now. My name's Malcolm. I'm 35. I live in Denver, Colorado, where I work as a senior systems analyst and avoid human contact as much as possible. At least, until the holidays drag me back here. Every year, my parents insist on the whole family gathering at the ranch in rural Wyoming for New Year's. This year was no different. Or so I thought. I barely had time to close the car door before my sister Erica came bounding off the porch like a golden retriever on espresso. "Oh my God, look who finally decided to show up," she squealed, throwing her arms around me in a perfume cloud. "We were starting to think you'd gotten married in secret or died in a data center." "Hi, Erica," I muttered, trying not to flinch. Her voice always had the volume of someone trying to convince you they're having fun at a party you're not at. Inside, the house was buzzing. Her 3 kids ran circles around a new VR headset, already fighting over whose turn it was. My brother Kyle, who liked to introduce himself as an entrepreneur and innovator, was holding court near the fireplace, showing off a drone with a built-in GoPro and pretending it was his idea. "Got it wholesale off a guy in Jackson," he said proudly, tossing me a look like I should be impressed. "This thing could track a coyote through a snowstorm." "Cool," I said flatly, peeling off my coat. Our parents were in the kitchen, setting out brunch. Dad had on his usual cable knit sweater, the one with a mysterious bleach stain near the collar. Mom looked more tired than usual, her smile a little too forced. There were pancakes, eggs, sausage, even mimosa pitchers set out like we were some rustic B&B. "Malcolm," Dad barked as I stepped into the room. There he is. The prodigal spreadsheet wizard. "Happy New Year, Dad." "You missed quite the trip," he said, pouring himself another mimosa. "We took the whole family skiing at Big Sky last week. Gorgeous slopes, high and lodge. Should have been there. Didn't know there was a trip." "Oh, right," Erica chimed in, brushing a hand over her new diamond bracelet. "It kind of came together last minute. Total blast. The kids loved the ski school, and Kyle even managed to avoid spraining anything this year." Kyle raised his mimosa in mock salute. "I fell twice. Thank you very much." I glanced around at the gifts piled under the little pine tree in the corner. Designer labels, drones, VR headsets, jewelry. Thousands of dollars worth of family bonding. I hadn't even gotten a card. Then Dad cleared his throat and gave me a look, the same look he gave when he was about to deliver one of his folksy, guilt-laced monologues. "You know, Malcolm, your sister and brother chipped in for the lodge, but, with all their responsibilities, it was a stretch. Since you're not exactly burdened with mouths to feed or diapers to change, we figured maybe you'd cover the bulk of it. You know, just to even things out." I blinked. "The bulk of what?" "The lodge, the ski passes, a few meals out." "Nothing major," Erica said, chewing her lip and avoiding eye contact. "It's already been paid," Kyle added quickly, like that would make it better. "Used your platinum card." I stared at him. "My card?" "Yeah, Dad said it was fine. You always say you don't mind helping." I laughed. "Once. A single, bitter note that tasted like battery acid." "Cool," I said finally. "That's really cool of you guys." Erica grinned like I just signed the check myself. "We'll Venmo you for our portions when things settle down." Kyle scratched the back of his neck and muttered something about Q1 being tight. I sat down at the brunch table. Sausage, eggs, cinnamon rolls. Rustic, cheerful, expensive. I took a bite of pancake and nodded. "This is great. Glad you like it," Mom said, patting my shoulder. Inside, my stomach twisted. I was chewing dead. I was eating humiliation. All while Kyle handed out custom hoodies that said Ski Crew 2024, and Erica opened a set of imported knives she clearly thought were from her husband, not me. When I finally opened my own gift, a pack of thermal socks from Walgreens, nobody even looked up. I said nothing. Not when Kyle handed out more gadgets. Not when Dad made a toast about strong family ties. I just smiled, raised my orange juice, and thought, next year, I burn it all down. The moment brunch ended, I claimed I needed some air and stepped outside. No one even tried to stop me. The wind hit me like a slap, sharp and unforgiving. I walked past the barn, down toward the frozen creek that used to flood every spring. The snow crunched under my boots. I shoved my hands in my pockets and stared out at the horizon, trying to breathe through the pressure building in my chest. They used my credit card. They booked an entire luxury ski trip, bought hundreds of dollars worth of gifts, and charged it all to me like I was some faceless company they had a tab with. I took out my phone. I'd been saving screenshots for years. Erica's emergency dental work. Kyle's last-minute hotel cancellation. My dad's truck repairs. I had it all, timestamps, Email confirmations, messages with half-assed promises to pay me back eventually. I scrolled through my saved folder and tapped the number for my bank's fraud department. It rang twice. "Thank you for calling Premier Financial. How can I assist you today?" "My name's Malcolm Cresswell," I said, walking farther from the house. "I need to file a fraud report. Multiple unauthorized charges on my account." The rep asked me to verify a few details. Then I started listing the transactions, the lodge, the lift tickets, the spa services, the ski gear rental, even the dinner at a steakhouse I'd never been to. "Do you know who made these purchases?" she asked. "I do," I said calmly. "But they didn't have permission." "And you're saying none of them were authorized?" "Not a single one." She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "We'll begin the reversal process immediately. You'll receive a temporary credit while the investigation is ongoing." I exhaled, finally feeling something like control for the first time in hours. "Thank you." Back at the lodge, the living room was dark except for the glow of the fire and the flashing lights of the kids' new VR setup. Erica was on the couch, feet up, scrolling her phone. Kyle and Dad were asleep in matching recliners. Mom was finishing a crossword at the dining table. I slipped past them and into the guest room where I kept my bag. I didn't say anything. Didn't mention the call I just made. Didn't say a word about the chargebacks or the fact that the $6,400 Big Sky trip was about to vanish from their fantasy ledger. I just sat on the edge of the bed, took off my coat, and stared at the wall. My phone buzzed 30 minutes later. Group chat. Fam bam. "Erica, why did the lodge just call saying our reservation's been voided?" "Kyle, WTF happened to the rental receipts? All the gears tagged now like we never paid." "Mom, my pharmacy card just got declined." I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Then I put the phone down. I said nothing. Let them stew in it. Let them wonder. My mom texted me separately 10 minutes later. "Mom, sweetheart, the credit card's not working. I can't get my medication. Can you call the bank?" I locked the screen and placed the phone face down. They had counted on me being quiet. They'd always counted on that. The helpful brother, the single one, the lucky one who didn't have a mortgage or ballet recitals or a failing startup to juggle. They figured I'd swallow it again. But not this time. I laid back on the guest bed and stared at the ceiling. My jaw ached from how tightly I'd been clenching it. My fingers itched to grab my laptop, pull up spreadsheets, start organizing the damage, the history, the patterns, but not yet. Let them panic first. Let them feel the same helplessness they've been handing me year after year in polite, backhanded comments and overdraft requests. Down the hall, I heard Erica whispering sharply. The word fraud floated through the paper-thin wall. Kyle's voice cut in, loud, defensive, already spinning a story. The perfect little holiday was unraveling, and I hadn't even raised my voice. For years, I'd been the safety net. The silent investor in a family that saw me as nothing more than a reliable credit line with a mild personality. But now, they were free-falling. And I was watching. By the time I got back to Denver, the group chat was a smoking crater. Texts, voicemails, and missed calls littered my notifications like confetti after a funeral. Erica had sent 7 voice notes, ranging from, "Hey, can we talk?" to full-blown crying about how her kids were traumatized by all the chaos. Kyle, unsurprisingly, sent a meme of a burning house with "You're the arsonist" in bold Comic Sans. I ignored them all. My apartment welcomed me with its usual silence. Hardwood floors, tidy furniture, a single-framed photo of me and my college roommate from 10 years ago. No wedding portraits, no sticky kid fingerprints on the walls. Just quiet. I made coffee, pulled out my laptop, and opened a folder I hadn't touched in a long time, family_finances. Inside was everything. 10 years of receipts, Venmo screenshots, loan confirmations, forwarded emails, and calendar entries for every quick favor that turned into a week-long nightmare. I'd been tracking it passively, more out of habit than resentment. But now, I was grateful for every last line. I opened a fresh spreadsheet and started building it from scratch. Each column came to life like a punch to the gut. Date, recipient, description, amount, repayment, notes. The entries poured in. April 2016. Erica, emergency dental surgery, $1,200. No, we'll pay next tax season. July 2018. Kyle, security deposit for warehouse, $3,500. No, it's an investment, bro, trust me. December 2019. Mom, Christmas shopping shortfall $900. No, just until dad's pension clears. March 2021. Erica, kids' iPads for remote learning, $1,600. No, think of it as a gift from Uncle Malcolm. By the time I was done, the total was $42,385.17. 42 grand and change. Gone. Some of it was direct. Most of it was layered under excuses. A temporary favor. You're already doing well, right? We'll settle up after this quarter. I stared at the final number. I should have been furious, but I wasn't. I just felt hollow. At some point, I stopped being a brother and became an open tab. And the worst part? They thought I liked it. That helping them made me feel included. That I was lucky to be needed. I opened my email and started drafting 3 separate messages. No jokes, no emotion. Just business. Subject: financial summary and future boundaries. Hi, Erica. Attached is a record of all financial assistance provided over the last 10 years, including specific entries related to your family. As of today, I've reversed unauthorized charges from the recent ski trip and will not be covering any further expenses on your behalf. Please do not reach out to me regarding money, reimbursements, or shared costs going forward. All relevant accounts, apps, and shared tools have been closed or updated. This includes our shared travel rewards account, Family Spotify and Netflix, Google Family Calendar, the budgeting app you use to keep track of kid expenses. Going forward, please handle your own finances. My involvement ends here. Malcolm. I changed the names and totals for Kyle and my parents but kept the tone the same. Cold. Surgical. Done. After hitting send, I pulled out my phone and opened every shared app. I unlinked, unsubscribed, canceled, and deleted. Spotify Family Plan? Gone. Amazon Prime Household Group? Removed. Google Shared Album of Cresswell Memories? Deleted. When I tried to exit the Family Apple ID group, a message popped up. Are you sure? This may remove access to family purchases, shared calendars, and storage plans. I smiled and tapped yes. Then I called my phone provider and changed the emergency contact. No more Kyle listed under IC. No more mom on the medical proxy. I updated my work records, health insurance, and even my building manager's file. It took 2 hours, but by the end of the night, I was no longer tethered to any of them digitally. It was like watching scaffolding fall away from a building and realizing the building stood just fine on its own. A message popped up from Dad while I was setting up a new budgeting profile. Dad, just got off the phone with Chase. They said the lodge and meals were reversed? What the hell is going on? This isn't how families work. I didn't respond. Instead, I renamed the spreadsheet file howfamilieswork.xlsx. Then I closed my laptop and poured myself a drink. Not to celebrate, but to mourn the fact that it had taken me this long to realize. Being the responsible one only gets you exploited when the rest of the family's decided you're not a person, just a resource. 3 days later, I stood at the counter of a UPS store near my office with 3 manila envelopes and a credit card that no longer bent for anyone but me. The clerk scanned the labels, double-checked the tracking codes, and asked if I wanted to add a signature confirmation. Absolutely, I said. I want them to know it's real. Each letter was sent certified mail, with delivery tracking and signature required, to my sister Erica, my brother Kyle, and my parents' house at the ranch. No one could pretend they didn't get it. No one could claim confusion or shock. Inside each envelope was the spreadsheet. Not just a vague summary this time, but the full ledger, every dollar, every date, every reason. I included screenshots, email excerpts, and in Erica's case, a photo of the Bali yoga retreat she had claimed was mental health therapy. I didn't include commentary, just the facts. Each packet came with a handwritten note. Brief. Final. Erica. This is the full record of my financial involvement in your life over the past decade. As of now, I am removing myself from all financial, emotional, and logistical obligations regarding you or your children. Do not call me for help. Do not guilt me into engagement. We are adults, and adults handle their own debts. Take care. Malcolm. Kyle. Enclosed is a record of the unpaid, loans, investments, and favors you've requested over the last several years. Going forward, please assume you will receive nothing further from me. If you wish to repay the $5,970 you currently owe, let me know, and I'll send a formal invoice. Malcolm. Mom, Dad. This document outlines every financial contribution I've made to this family since 2015, including the ski trip that was booked without my knowledge and charged to my account. I've rescinded access to all financial platforms, apps, and accounts. You will need to find another solution moving forward. I wish you well. Malcolm. 2 days later, the reactions began. First, a voicemail from Mom. Her voice cracked before the first word. Malcolm, sweetheart, please call me. I'm so confused. What is this? Why are you being so cold? Your father's been worried sick. This isn't you. Please, let's talk. I deleted it without finishing. Then came Erica. She didn't waste time with tears. Are you serious with this? You mailed me a spreadsheet like you're the IRS? What is wrong with you? My kids were asking about Uncle Malcolm today, and I didn't even know what to say. You're punishing them for our trip? That's disgusting. You need help. She didn't mention the Bali photos, or the forged withdrawal from Max's college fund. Just launched straight into outrage, like she'd been blindsided, even though I'd warned her for years. Then, predictably, came Kyle. A single text. Kyle, $5, 970? You're joking, right? I didn't hesitate. Me. No. Shall I send the invoice? No response. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. The thing about boundaries is that people don't like them when they're used to crossing yours without asking. It wasn't that they didn't understand what I was doing. It's that they hated losing access. By the end of the day, my phone had 12 missed calls. One from my dad. I didn't even play the voicemail. I knew how it would go. Son, you're overreacting. This isn't how we handle things in this family. Right? Because how we handled things was letting me bankroll their lives while being mocked as the one with no real responsibilities. That night, I took a walk through downtown Denver. Light snow drifted down, soft and harmless, like a storm that never committed to its threat. I passed a holiday market still open despite the cold. Families huddled around fire pits, laughing. Someone played a guitar near the cider tent. For once, I didn't feel guilty watching other people enjoy themselves. I was doing something they probably couldn't, reclaiming peace. At home, I muted the family group chat. Not that they were using it, just in case someone decided to post another passive-aggressive meme about keeping score or toxic people cutting off their bloodline. I had played the good sibling for years. Smiled through brunches. Picked up checks. Nodded while Dad made his little digs about me being the loner with a laptop. And they'd taken it all like it was owed. Now, they were scrambling. Because they finally realized something I had already come to terms with. They needed me far more than I ever needed them. The first message of the morning wasn't from Erica or Kyle. It was from my father. A photo of the ranch's living room, stripped bare. No tree. No stockings. No gifts. Just a sagging couch and empty wine glasses on the mantel. Beneath the image, one line. Your mother's crying. Couldn't get her asthma meds today. I stared at it for a long time. Not the photo, the words. Not even a question. Not a request. Just guilt served ice cold, the way he always did it. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up the logbook again. Not just the spreadsheet I'd sent them, the real one. The personal one. The one with every receipt and screenshot. Yes, but also the side notes. That he said he'd pay me after tax season margins. The probably won't see this money again footnotes. It was time to do more than distance myself. It was time to protect myself. That afternoon, I got in my car and drove 3 hours west, through snow-packed back roads and past miles of frozen fence line. I hadn't made this trip in over a decade, not since college. But she still lived out here, tucked between two hills in a brown-clapboard house with a satellite dish that looked like it hadn't worked since the Bush administration. Aunt Myra. She opened the door before I could knock, arms folded, face unreadable. Well, look what the blizzard blew in, she said. You bring whiskey or an apology? Both, I said, holding up the bottle. She cracked the smallest smile and stepped aside. Myra was my dad's older sister, the family's black sheep, as they liked to call her. A former IRS consultant who'd gotten herself cut out of the picture when she pressed charges against her ex for draining her savings account. According to my dad, she was bitter, dramatic, obsessed with receipts. Sounded like my kind of person. We sat at her kitchen table, same flowered vinyl tablecloth as always, and I told her everything. Not just the ski trip, but the decade of slow financial erosion. The unpaid debts. The emotional sleight of hand. The way they'd weaponized guilt until it felt like love. When I was done, she refilled both our glasses. You did everything right, she said. I let out a shaky breath I didn't realize I was holding. They're acting like I nuked the family. You didn't nuke it, she said. You turned the lights on and showed them what they built. That's not destruction, that's clarity. I nodded, staring down at the rim of my glass. Your dad always had that tone, she continued. The one that made you feel like the problem just for having boundaries. But he never could argue numbers. That's why he never fought me in court. He knew I had the paperwork. I've got the paperwork, I said quietly. She smiled like she was proud. Damn right you do. She reached into a file drawer beside the fridge and pulled out a slim binder. This guy I know, she said, sliding it over. Retired from the Treasury, now he handles what we call financial disentanglements. Basically helps people like you separate completely from toxic systems, joint accounts, inheritance conflicts, property clauses. I opened it. The name on the business card inside read, James Holloway, forensic CPA. He's the one who helped me when your uncle tried to sue me for spousal support after he drained our investment fund. I raised an eyebrow. How'd that turn out? She smirked. He pays me monthly now. Just out of spite. I tucked the card into my coat pocket. We spent the rest of the evening going through options. Legal removals. Digital detachment. Even inheritance clauses. Wait, I said, flipping through a scanned document. Is this? Yup, she said. Your grandfather's land trust has a clause. If any beneficiary receives over $10,000 from another heir during their lifetime, the final distribution can be reduced accordingly. My brain clicked instantly. Erica, Kyle, both had well over that threshold. Erica alone had cleared 15 grand just from college fund withdrawals and car bailouts. You can invoke it, Myra said. If you document it cleanly, submit it properly, it'll hold. I blinked. So I could actually reduce their inheritance? Not out of revenge, she said firmly. Out of fairness. You've already given them their share. That night, as I drove back through the snowy pass into Denver, my mind wasn't racing. It was focused. They thought I was being petty, emotional, reactionary. But this wasn't emotion. This was arithmetic. They'd spent years draining me, my accounts, my patience, my peace, and now, finally, I had a tool to balance the equation. A week later, I sat in the corner booth of my favorite coffee shop in Denver, the one where no one knew my last name, and the barista always added an extra shot without asking. The snow had turned to slush, gray and sticky, but I didn't care. I had work to do. On my laptop, the cursor blinked at the top of a blank New Post window. I scrolled through my drafts one last time. I'd rewritten this message 5 different ways. Too cold, too emotional, too long, too vague. But now, I had it down. I pasted the final version into 2 places, my company's internal social network and my LinkedIn. The exact same post. Professional. Direct. Unapologetic. Then I hit post. Taking back my boundaries. Over the past decade, I've supported people I care about emotionally, logistically, and financially, often at great cost to myself. Like many others in similar roles, I was the reliable one, the single one, the successful one, and that title came with invisible obligations. This year, I realized those obligations were being weaponized against me. My financial support had become an expectation, not a kindness. My stability was used as a justification for others' irresponsibility. So I've stopped. I've removed myself from those dynamics, closed the accounts, reclaimed my autonomy, and set permanent boundaries with those who consistently abused my support. If you're navigating something similar, if you're the one holding up a system that doesn't serve you, I hope this gives you permission to let go. You don't owe anyone your peace. Malcolm Cresswell. I closed my laptop. For the first time in months, I didn't feel nervous about who might read it. I didn't care if someone rolled their eyes or read between the lines. I wasn't writing it for my family. I was writing it for me, and maybe for someone else out there who needed to hear it. The first comment came 10 minutes later. A colleague from IT. Damn, this hit hard. Good for you, Malcolm. Then another, from a project manager I barely spoke to. Proud of you. Seriously. And another. Thank you for posting this. I'm making some calls today. I sat there, sipping my coffee, letting the quiet affirmations roll in. It wasn't viral. It wasn't dramatic. It was just honest, and that seemed to be enough. My phone buzzed a few hours later. I flipped it over. 53 unread messages. The family had noticed. The group thread had come alive like a hornet's nest. Erica had screenshotted the post and was livid. Erica, what is this crap you put online? Are you seriously trying to embarrass us professionally now? Kyle, nice. Real mature. Airing family business in front of strangers like some drama influencer. Dad, you want to destroy your name over a few $1,000? You're not thinking straight. Mom, you broke your father's heart with that post. Please take it down. I didn't reply. More messages came in from adjacent relatives. People who hadn't spoken to me in years were suddenly flooding my inbox. Uncle Ron, is this about that ski trip? You're blowing it out of proportion. And Cheryl, your mother has done nothing but cry. Don't you think you're being cruel? Cousin Jenna, we all have family issues. But this is public, mal too public. I blocked each one by one. Not in anger. Just efficiently. I didn't owe them space in my peace. The final message came from Kyle again. Kyle, you want to be the martyr? Fine. But don't come crawling back when you realize you've burned every bridge. I stared at the message for a long second. Then I tapped block. No reply. No speech. No explanation. They weren't bridges. They were chains. And I wasn't burning them. I was walking away from the wreckage they left behind. That night, I ordered takeout from a new Korean place I'd been meaning to try and watched a documentary I actually cared about. No group FaceTime. No, just checking in calls from mom that turned into requests. No tense calendar reminders about family Zooms. Just silence. Beautiful, uninterrupted silence. The cease and desist came on a Tuesday. It arrived as a PDF attachment from a Gmail account that could only belong to Kyle, a mess of underscores, numbers, and some variation of LLC in the name, as if throwing that in would make it look official. The subject line read, Formal notice, defamation and emotional harm. I opened it, coffee in hand, and skimmed the document. It was laughable. A 2-page mashup of legal jargon copy-pasted from Google, accusing me of tarnishing family reputation, causing undue emotional damage, and making public statements resulting in reputational loss. At the end, it actually said, You are hereby instructed to cease and desist all public commentary on family matters and retract said post within 48 hours. No lawyer's signature. No law firm. Just Kyle's name in Comic Sans and a footer that read, "Drafted independently, all rights reserved." I took a screenshot and sent it to James Holloway, the financial disentanglement consultant Myra had recommended. Within 5 minutes, he called me. "Please tell me this isn't from a licensed attorney," he said. "It's from my brother." James laughed. "Then feel free to ignore it. But if he keeps poking the beehive, I'm happy to respond with something that actually has teeth." "I think that won't be necessary," I said, closing the laptop. "But just in case, let's move on the rest." That same afternoon, I sat down with James in his office, a quiet suite above a dentist practice in Boulder, all clean lines and wall clocks. We went over every piece of financial history I had with my family. Every loan, every payment, every unauthorized use of my credit. James flipped through my files, nodding with quiet efficiency. "This is more than enough to justify inheritance reductions." "The clause will hold?" I asked, tapping a highlighted section in my grandfather's original land trust documents. "It's airtight," he said. "As long as you can show that both Erica and Kyle received over $10,000 cumulatively from you, which you absolutely can, then the trust allows for a proportional deduction from their share." I sat back in the chair. This wasn't revenge. This was math. They'd already spent what they believed was rightfully theirs years before anyone in the family ever passed. And now, they were about to learn that generosity had a cost. James walked me through the filing process. I would need to submit the formal petition to the estate executor, which, ironically, was my father, but with Myra's recent legal appointment as co-trustee, thanks to some maneuvering she'd done before my grandfather passed, I only needed one signature. "She's already agreed?" I asked. "She did more than agree," James said. "She called your dad this morning and told him the deduction paperwork was coming." I blinked. "How'd he take it?" James shrugged. Hung up. I left the office with 2 signed copies of the deduction request, one for Kyle, one for Erica. I'd send them certified, same as the letters. Let them sit with the reality. They wanted to accuse me of betrayal, but what I'd done was keep a ledger. And now I was moving numbers from one column to another, just like they'd done, year after year. That evening, I sat on my balcony as the Denver skyline went soft under a hazy sunset. Below, someone was walking a golden retriever past a row of parked scooters. A kid zipped by on a skateboard, earbuds in, mouth moving to a song only he could hear. My phone buzzed. New email, Erica Reynolds. Subject, "WTF is this?" I didn't open it. 10 minutes later, Kyle texted again. "Kyle, you're really going to rob us of our inheritance over some old receipts? You think that's justice?" I stared at the message. My thumb hovered for a second. Then I typed, "Me. I didn't rob you. I reimbursed myself." Blocked. That night, I updated my will, my health directive, and every emergency contact on record. No more family names. No more strings. Myra helped me set up a digital lockbox and a private living trust. The final move? I requested that my name be removed from the shared family plot burial records. I wanted no part of a future where I was boxed between people who only loved me when my balance was positive. The chain was broken. The numbers were settled. And for the first time in my life, I felt untouchable. I was sitting at a small table in a vineyard outside Porto, Portugal, sipping a glass of late harvest wine and watching the sun stretch long shadows over the grapevines when the email came through. Subject, Cresswell Family Land Trust, final distribution notification. I didn't open it right away. I just sat there, letting the sunlight warm my face, listening to the quiet buzz of the vineyard around me. A couple laughed softly a few tables over. Somewhere, a cork popped. The world didn't pause for my family drama. And that, I was beginning to realize, was a blessing. When I finally opened the email, it was all there in neat legal language. Pursuant to the terms of the trust and under review of the submitted financial disbursement adjustments, the final inheritance amounts are as follows. My portion, unchanged. Full. Erica, reduced by $14,200. Kyle, reduced by $11,500. Just like James and Myra had said. Documented, confirmed, enforced. Attached were digital receipts of the certified notices sent to both of them, signed for and acknowledged. No one could claim surprise. I sat back in my chair and took a slow sip of wine. It tasted sweeter than it had a minute ago. I didn't post anything. I didn't send a follow-up. I just watched the sun sink a little lower and thought, this is what peace feels like. But peace doesn't last long when your siblings are allergic to consequences. The first text came from Kyle, of course. "Kyle, you petty, selfish asshole. You don't get to rewrite history just because you kept receipts." I didn't respond. Then Erica, in classic form, sent a group text to me, Myra, and my father. "Erica, wow. So this is the legacy we're preserving? Malcolm gets full inheritance and we get scraps because he couldn't let go of some favors? How do you sleep at night?" I stared at it for a second. Then I texted her back privately. "Me. How did you sleep after charging a $2,000 yoga retreat to your nephew's college fund? No reply. 2 hours later, I got a call from my mom. I let it ring out. Then another one. Then a voicemail. Her voice was shaking, breathless, the way it got when she wanted to sound broken but not hysterical. Malcolm, I don't know what you think you're doing. This isn't justice. It's cruelty. Your father won't stop pacing. Erica's in tears. Kyle says he's talking to a lawyer. I don't know why you're doing this. I deleted the message. Then, for the first time since I'd left Denver, I sent one final text. It was just to my mother. No attachments. No explanations. Just 12 words. I didn't betray the family. I just stopped funding it. I turned off my phone and slipped it into the bottom of my backpack. Let them scream. Let them threaten. The truth had finally caught up with them, and it didn't need my help anymore. That night, I sat under the stars with a second glass of wine and thought about how many years I'd spent carrying people who never looked down to see whose back they were standing on. Now they were falling, and I was gone. No forwarding address. No apology. No regrets. By the first week of April, the Denver apartment was empty. The last box was sealed with a strip of blue painter's tape and labeled simply, tools. Inside were a few screwdrivers, a small cordless drill, and a woodbending kit I hadn't used since college. It wasn't much, but it was all I wanted to bring. The rest had been sold, donated, or tossed. My name was off the lease. The internet was disconnected. Mail was forwarded to a P.O. box in Oregon. And my new phone number, local area code, registered under initials only, had been activated just 2 days earlier. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. No dramatic goodbye posts. No farewell drinks. No hint dropped on social media. 1 minute I was there, and the next I was gone. Just how I wanted it. I'd taken a new job, a lateral shift to a smaller firm in Eugene that valued sanity over 20-hour marathons and family-like culture that always seemed to mean we expect you to bleed for us. Here, I was just Malcolm, a skilled employee. No more, no less. The first thing I did in Oregon, before I even unpacked the kitchen box, was visit a local hardware store and pick out a stack of smooth, raw cedar planks. The second thing I did was join a hiking group that met every Saturday morning at a coffee shop near my apartment. Not to find friends. Not to force some new community on myself. Just to exist. Just to start over. The apartment I rented was small, intentionally. 1 bedroom, lots of light, quiet neighbors. The kind of place you could disappear into without anyone noticing. And that's what I did. I learned how to shape wood into something useful. I made shelves and coat racks, even a crooked little bench for my balcony. Nothing Instagram-worthy, but I didn't care. My hands stopped twitching at the thought of missed emails. My jaw unclenched at night. I slept without checking my phone under the pillow. My phone barely rang anymore. The last thing I did, the final thread I needed to cut, was delete the backup of the family group chat from my old drive. I'd been holding on to it like some digital fossil, proof of what they'd said and done. But it was over. I'd already filed, revoked, signed, blocked, reduced. There was no more leverage to be gained. No more, just in case. So I dragged the folder to the trash. Delete permanently? I clicked yes. A week later, I ran into a woman on the hiking trail who asked if I was new to the area. She smiled without expectation, without knowing a single thing about the wreckage I'd walked away from. I smiled back. I am, I said. Just moved here. Starting fresh. She nodded. Good place for that. And it was. I'd spent most of my adult life being a good son, a responsible brother, a financial fallback plan dressed up as family. But now? Now I was just Malcolm. A man who walked away before the house collapsed, and for once, didn't turn around to watch. Somewhere, I was sure the family was still arguing, still blaming, still rewriting the story to make me the villain who ruined everything by refusing to keep paying for everyone else's mistakes. Let them. I was too busy learning how to live. Not quietly, but freely.